Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I am finally doing a Black Sabbath discography ranking. You dudes have wanted this for the longest time, and the Tony Martin box set has still not been released yet, so I just said, you know what, let's go ahead and do it anyways, even though the box set's not out, as I've heard those albums quite a few times. I can tell you what I think about them. So, I'm going to be ranking all 20 Black Sabbath albums, and I'm including The Devil You Know in there. I know some people do not consider that a Black Sabbath album. I do, though. It's literally Black Sabbath, just with a different name. But I will be including that album in this list. So, let's go and begin this. Okay, so I'm gonna use my phone to look up the track listings for all these instead of my computer because it's a lot faster. So, coming in at number 20. Now, my least favorite Black Sabbath album is not Forbidden, surprisingly. It's actually 13. Okay? 13 to me was just... What is this album? I don't think Black Sabbath... Okay, let me say this first. I don't think Black Sabbath ever released a bad album in their discography, but this is definitely my least favorite because this thing lacks its own originality. These songs sound exactly the same, except for... Well, here. These are the songs I don't think sound the same. God is Dead does not sound like anything else. Loner doesn't sound like anything else. And that's about it. Out of like the main standard edition, that's about the only songs that have their own unique identity. The rest literally sound like the exact same songs. And if you blended them together and then like, you know, said, hey, these are multiple different songs, but we blended them together, I would think it was just one song because they all just sound the exact same. There is... Tony Iommi is my favorite guitar player of all time, but right here, he is not doing anything special. He's just basically just playing the guitar, not really making a riff or anything. And it's just, it hurts, this album. And the bass, you can't, I don't really hear the bass that much on this album, which I've always loved Black Sabbath albums because you could always hear the bass. But on this one, you can't really hear the bass that much. Now, Ozzy's vocals, Ozzy sounds good on this album. I think Ozzy sounds pretty good. They did not get Bill Ward for this. The drummer is actually... Hold on, let me make sure I get this right. The drummer is actually from Rage Against the Machine, so Bill Ward is not on this album. And I don't really think that hurt the album, but it would have been cool to see Bill on the album. I know I just said album like 3 times right there. But yeah, I was not... I don't really like this album that much. I think it's okay. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's just okay. Now, if you get the bonus track edition, you get Methodemic, Peace of Mind, Pariah, which I actually like Pariah. That's a pretty good song. Naivety in Black. I hope I said that right, but you also get that if you got like a... I think it's the Best Buy exclusive version. You got that song? Which I've actually heard that song. It's pretty good. But yeah, this is just not one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums. And if you actually... there's actually an EP out there called The End, which I actually bought a bootleg of that. And it has 4 songs that did not make the album. And they're actually pretty good. But... still, I'm just not a big fan of 13. In my opinion, this is the... If there's a worst... I don't think Black Sabbath ever released a bad album, but in my opinion, my least favorite Black Sabbath album is 13. I don't care for it. Okay, so, coming in at number 19, Tear. And this is with Tony Martin. So, Tear is a very interesting album. For the longest time, I thought it was like a Valhalla concept album. But, no, that's not actually what it is. It's just kind of... That's definitely a theme throughout the album, but it's not like an entire concept built around that. But that would have been cool to see if it was entirely like a Valhalla concept album. But what you do get on this album is you get And on Monday. I love that song. The Lawmaker. Love that song. Jerusalem. That's an amazing song. The Sabbath Stones. The Battle of Tear. That's a little instrumental part. Odin's Court, which leads into Valhalla. One of my favorite songs off this album. Feels Good to Me, and then Heaven in Black. Now, I'd say my favorite song off this is Valhalla, just because that's just such an amazing song. And my favorite off 13 would probably just have to be, probably Loner, just on the bass version of the album. Yeah, it'd be Loner. But yeah, I love Tear. Even though this is coming in at number 19, I still love this album. And from this point forward, I love these albums. 13's okay for me, but the rest I love. So even though this one's coming in at number 19, I still love it. It's just compared to the rest of the discography, this is at number 19. That's all. So just because these are coming in at like 19, 18, 17 does not mean I hate these. It just means when stacked up to the rest of the catalog, this is where I would rank them. It doesn't mean I don't like them. I love these albums. So yeah, that's Tear. Very great album. And by the way, if you've never listened to the Tony Martin era Black Sabbath albums, go listen to them. They're so good. So many people just sleep on the Tony Martin era of this band, and it just hurts. Because literally none of my friends will even dare touch the Tony Martin albums. They're just like, nah, Ozzy or Dio, nothing else. It's like, bruh, come on now. Give Tony Martin some love, because that dude has an amazing vocal range. One of my favorite singers. Okay, so coming at number 18 now, Technical Ecstasy from 1976. This is with Ozzy. So, this album right here, when I first listened to this, I thought it was the worst thing I ever heard. I was like, ew, what is this garbage? I hate it. Now I actually like it. I love this album now. You've got Backstreet Kids, that's a great song. You Won't Change Me, pretty good. It's alright. It's alright. I get it. Gypsy's pretty good. All Moving Parts Stand Still's pretty good. Rock and Roll Doctor, I absolutely love. She's Gone's alright. Dirty Women, though, man, that's an amazing song. I love that song. Just the instrumentation on that album, Ozzy's vocals, it's just a very chilling and just kind of like moody track, and I love it. It's really great. So Technical Ecstasy, it's pretty weak compared to the rest of the catalog, but I still think it's great on its own merit. But yeah, there's not really much I can say about it. It's kind of more poppy, and it kind of leads straight into Never Say Die, which we will talk about that album, because I absolutely love that album too. But yeah, it's more poppy. It's kind of lighter, but it's still dark. It's lighter, but it's got some dark elements mixed in there, and I like that. It's kind of has like a softer vibe, but it also has that muddiness, you know, that Sabbath tone to it, which I thought was always really cool. So yeah, that's Technical Ecstasy. Okay, now number 17. Now some of you dudes are gonna hate on me for this, but number 17, Forbidden. I don't understand why so many Black Sabbath fans hate on Forbidden. I just don't understand it. Everyone out there says this is the worst Black Sabbath album, and I'm sorry, I just do not hear it. To me, this thing was ahead of its time. This is like very early nu metal, but it's still mixed with that Black Sabbath tone. It's got that Black Sabbath music, that feel to it, and it's got that signature sound to it, but it also mixes like nu metal, like alt, and it has like the, it's got alternative mixed in there, nu metal, some rap in there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, and every single person I've seen on YouTube that's a Black Sabbath fan absolutely freaks out whenever you bring up the Illusion of Power with Ice-T on it. And they're like, oh, that hurts my ears, they put a rapper on a Black Sabbath album. Did you know that segment's not even like 50 seconds long? Like, is it really that bad? It's only 50 seconds, and I thought it was really cool too. But people freak out whenever they hear that song because of Ice-T. But I just did not hear it that way. I thought that little thing he's talking in, and he's doing a little rap, I thought that fit perfectly with that song, but some people don't hear it that way, and hey, if you don't like the album, that's perfectly fine. Like I always say, if you like any of these albums, that's fine with me, which I love all these, besides 13. But if you love any of these albums that I'm not really crazy about, or vice versa, that is perfectly fine. No, just don't, this is my opinion, this is how I feel. If you feel differently, that is perfectly fine. I'm glad you like what you like, and I like what I like, and, yeah, that's how music goes. But anyways, I love The Illusion of Power. Get a Grip, that's an amazing song. Can't Get Close Enough, that's pretty good. Shaking Off the Chains is pretty good. I Won't Cry For You, though, is one of my absolute favorites. And Guilty as Hell, that riff. I love that song so much. Sick and Tired, Rusty Angels is alright. Forbidden, though, that's an amazing song. Kiss of Death's pretty good. Then Loser Gets All, that one's alright. But yeah, I love Forbidden. I don't understand why so many Black Sabbath fans hate on this album. I love it. I understand if you don't like the production that much. Production's kind of but I honestly think it fits with the album. And I never really minded like the muddy productions for Black Sabbath albums, because it gives them their own unique flair, and it kind of fits in with that Sabbath sound. So I never understood why people jump all over Forbidden. I actually love that album. So for all the Forbidden fans out there, you're welcome. Okay, so coming at number 16, Cross Purposes. Another amazing album that doesn't get talked about enough. And this one has more grunge elements onto it, because, you know, grunge was all the rage back then. And, yeah, this one's definitely got some grunge influence, some alternative influence. They got Eddie Van Halen to do a guitar solo on, yeah, I think it was Evil Eye he did on. I think that's correct. But, yeah, he was on Evil Eye. But, I mean, amazing album. You got Eyewitness, Cross of Thorns, my favorite off the album. Oh, by the way, my favorite off Forbidden would be probably Guilty as Hell. I love that song. And then for sorry, I'm not giving my favorites off of these. And my favorite off of Technical Ecstasy is Dirty Women. But yeah, for cross purposes, my favorite's Cross of Thorns. Love that song. I also like Psychophobia, Virtual Death, Dying for Love, Back to Eden, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. That's a great song. Cardinal Sin's good. Evil Eye's great. What's the Use is pretty good. But yeah, I just love this album too. And it's got some, like I said, grunge alternative influence in there. And it's just a very strong album that not many people talk about. And just because the Tony Martin albums did not sell that well, that doesn't mean they're bad. I hope people don't actually think that because, you know, actually there are probably some people out there who are like, because those albums sold so poorly, I bet they're horrible. But no, they're actually really good. It's just, I think people were just losing interest in Black Sabbath at the time because the lineups were changing so frequently. You know, sometimes people were coming in, coming out. Dio was back in, Dio's back out. Ozzy's hopping in there for a reunion, and then he stays there. Then Dio comes back. Tony Martin don't even get to come back, which is kind of sad. But yeah, I wish they would. I know they're really old now. Well, this probably sounds rude, but I know Tony's getting up there in age. But I would love to see a reunion with the Tony Martin era of the band. And I know Cozy Pal's no longer with us, but I would just love to like see a reunion of the like a mixture between all those different albums and like form like a super group like they did with Heaven and Hell with Dio, and have like a thing called like Headless Cross. That'd be cool, and they go out there and do shows. But I understand Tony doesn't want to tour like that anymore. But it would be kind of cool to see some one-offs or something like that. That'd be pretty interesting to see. So yeah, cross purposes. That's coming in at number 16. Okay, coming in at number 15. The Eternal Idol. I love this album too, and actually for the longest time I didn't realize that those were actual people on the album cover. I thought it was a statue, which is actually based off a statue, but the thing on the album cover, that's actually people, and they painted them, and they actually got really sick because of it. So don't do that for an album cover. Anyways, The Shining's an amazing song. Ancient Warrior, I love that song. Hard Life to Love, Glory Ride, Born to Lose, Nightmare, Scarlet Pimpernel, that's a little instrumental thing. Lost Forever, Eternal Idol, just an amazing album. And then on the deluxe edition, you get Black Moon, Some Kind of Woman. And then on disc 2, you actually get Ray Gillen singing the album. And he was actually going to be the Black Sabbath singer after Glenn Hughes left, but he didn't want it. And it's a shame too, because Ray Gillen, I love Tony Martin, don't get me wrong, but I love Ray Gillen too. That dude could sing as well. But it would have been interesting to see how things would have turned out had Ray Gillen stayed with the band. That would have been quite interesting to see. But yeah, if you get a chance to listen to the second disc, definitely do, because there's some really good stuff on there. It's like very early demos of like the stuff that would actually make it to the Eternal Idol, but just with Ray Gillen singing, and that dude, what a voice. Rest in peace. Which, speaking of talent, though, we gotta bring up Tony Iommi, because this dude never ran out of ideas for riffs. Like, even if Forbidden, you go from Forbidden to, well, 13, it was kind of, I don't know if that was really necessarily his fault, but it just seemed like on 13 he didn't really bring his best riffs to the table. But every other Black Sabbath album, Heaven and Hell, he brought an amazing riffs in for every single song, and that is just, dude is talented. But I'd say my favorite off here is Ancient Warrior. I just love that song. Okay, now number 14. This is my all-time favorite Tony Martin era Black Sabbath album, and that's Headless Cross. I love this album so much. Amazing album. The title track's my favorite off this album. But also you got Devil and Daughter with Death Calls, Killing the Spirit World, Call of the Wild, Black Moon, Nightwing, Cloak and Dagger. I mean, oh, such an amazing album. I love this album so much. And it's just this one's got more like a power metal influence to it, and it just sounds amazing. Tony sounds amazing. The other Tony sounds amazing. The instrumentation's amazing. Cozy Pal, what an amazing drummer that dude is. I mean, it's just, I don't even know how to explain this album to you, but if you've never listened to Headless Cross at all, go listen to it, because you are missing out on some amazing music, especially that title track, because that thing is amazing, and that is a crime that it's not on streaming services, and that it's never been reissued. But thankfully, they are re-releasing it soon, I hope so, and can't wait to pick that up someday. But yeah, Headless Cross, such an amazing album, and I love it very much. we gotta talk about the dude in Black Sabbath who never gets talked about hardly. Well, I know some people talk about him, but not nearly enough as long as he was in the band, which they didn't really consider him like a member, but he was most definitely a member. And that is Jeff Nichols on keyboards. That dude could play! Like, that dude is my all-time favorite keyboardist. Like, whew! That dude was talented. Like, go listen to Black Sabbath live shows from any era whenever they had him, and that dude is killing it behind the stage. Okay, so coming at number 13, I absolutely love this album right here. This is one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums that is super underrated, and that's Seventh Star. This is originally going to be a Tony Iommi solo album, but the record label didn't want that, so they made it the Black Sabbath album with that really weird title of Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi, which is kind of ironic because Tony Iommi was like the one dude who never left the band. He was always there. But yeah, I absolutely love this album. When I first listened to it, I wasn't too crazy about it, but now I absolutely love this album. In for the Kill, No Stranger to Love. That's one of the best power ballads ever written. I absolutely love that song. Turn to Stone, Sphinx the Guardian, that goes into the title track, which is my favorite song off this album. I absolutely love the Seventh Star title track. With that I love that riff. Then you go to Danger Zone, Heart Like a Will, Angry Heart, In Memory. I mean, what more can I say? That's just an amazing album that not many people talk about. Does it sound like Black Sabbath? I still think it does. But they were most definitely going in more a pop direction for this album, which I don't have a problem with that because it sounds amazing. But yeah, I love the Seventh Star album, and I really hope we get a deluxe edition, like a reissue of that deluxe edition they put out, because that'd be really cool to see. But yeah, I absolutely love the Seventh Star album. And if you've never listened to that album, go listen to it, because it has Glenn Hughes on vocals, which I know a lot of you people know from Deep Purple, which we will get a Deep Purple discography ranking eventually for the channel. But that might take a while, because I'm about to re-listen to that entire catalog before I make a discography ranking on it. Alright, now we're getting to the classic Ozzy stuff. So coming in at number 12, get ready, because it's Master of Reality. I love this album. So good. You've got Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Embryo, which goes into Children of the Grave, Orchid, which goes to Lord of this World, and Solitude, Into the Void. I mean, that's an amazing album. I love it. And you got Sweet Leaf, my favorite song off this album, which has one of the best guitar riffs in it. I love that song. And also Children of the Grave, I love that song too. I love all the songs off this album. But yeah, Master of Reality, classic Ozzy album, and it's so good. I don't know how to describe it to you. It's that classic Black Sabbath sound, and it's amazing. You can call it classic rock, you can call it metal, you can call it, I don't know what you would call. I know some people who don't consider Black Sabbath metal and they consider it classic rock, but I'm definitely one of those people who considers it metal. But I love this album. I don't really know how to explain it to you, but Tony Iommi's guitar riffs, the solos, I mean, Bill Ward, one of the best drummers ever. Same with Geezer Butler, who's a bassist, one of the best bassists out there. But I absolutely love Bill Ward's drumming. He's got that jazz drumming going on, and it sounds amazing on these classic Ozzy albums. And of course, you got Tony Iommi, favorite guitar player of all time, best riffs, best solos of all time, if you ask me. No one could top him as a guitar player. And I'm sorry if someone out there is gonna be my guitar player someday, and they hear that. I'm sorry, but you ain't beating Tony Iommi. But yeah, I love Master of Reality. What more can I say? And also Ozzy's vocals. Ozzy's vocals on all these classic albums sound amazing, and they just get better and better. Well, they get better and better, in my opinion, as the list goes down. So, yeah. Okay, so coming in at number 11, gotta go with the debut, because I love this album too. For some really odd reason, to me, Ozzy sounds the oldest on this album. I don't know if that's just me, but Ozzy just sounds the oldest on this album. I don't know what it is, but he sounds younger and younger as the albums go on. But here he sounds really old for some reason. I don't know why that is. But All I've got to say is they should definitely bring back harmonicas to metal music, because that's just amazing. Like, The Wizard, amazing song. NIB is my favorite of this album. But The Wizard, the title track, Behind the Wall of Sleep, Evil Woman, that's a cover tune, which I absolutely love. Sleeping Village, Warding, which is also a cover tune. Wicked World, I mean, I don't know what to say to this. I mean, this is just, if you never listened to Black Sabbath, this is definitely the album to jump into. And also, just listen to the Black Sabbath albums chronologically, because that is an experience. That is just one of the best experiences you could ever have as like a music listener or a metal fan. That is just, I don't know how to explain that to you, but when you listen to the Black Sabbath albums chronologically from Black Sabbath to all the way to 13, I mean, that's just... Whew, I don't have words for that. It's just an experience. You gotta do that sometime. And I like how this album has kind of more of like a blues influence to it, and you can definitely tell that like Billboard's jazz drumming, and it sounds amazing. And of course, Tony Iommi's riffs, amazing. The bass, I love the bass on this album. It's just such, oh, it's amazing. I love this album. I love this debut album. This is essentially like the very first heavy metal album that was ever released, and it still holds up to this day. This thing's been out for over 50 years, and it just sounds amazing. I love this album, with my favorite song being NIB. I mean, you can't go wrong with that song. So, coming in at number 10, Paranoid. Now, I know a lot of you dudes love Paranoid so much on the album polls, and while I do enjoy it still, it is not my favorite Black Sabbath album, but it most definitely has all their classic songs on it, like War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, and Fairies Wear Boots. I mean, that's an amazing album right there. None of those songs are weak in my opinion. I love every single one of them, with my favorite being Paranoid. I know people don't like Paranoid anymore, but I absolutely love that song. I never get tired of hearing it. I could listen to any of the singers sing that song. I mean, it's an amazing song. And in my opinion, it never gets old. I know some people might disagree with that, but in my opinion, it never gets old. And I love Paranoid so much. So, shout out to all the Paranoid fans out there. Okay, now this album has grown on me so much since the first time I heard it. And that's Volume 4. When I first listened to this, it wasn't really one of my favorites, but now it most definitely is. I love Tony Iommi's riffs on this album. In my opinion, this Black Sabbath album has the best Tony Iommi riffs ever that he ever did. I don't think he ever topped this. I mean, this is just some of the best guitar work on a metal album ever. I love the experimentation on this album, and it really doesn't sound like anything else that Black Sabbath had put out. You know, they were really experimenting with different stuff on all their albums, and they changed up their sound a lot. And yeah, I think with Ozzy they had the most experimentation. The rest of the singers, they didn't really do that really, but with Ozzy they most definitely went out there in places, and it was really cool because none of the albums sound the same when you do that. Wheels of Confusion, Tomorrow's Dream, Changes, I still love that song. FX has a little instrumental part, Supernaut. Then you got Snowblind, Cornucopia, Laguna Sunrise, which goes into St. Vitus Dance, and then that goes into Under the Sun. Ah, man, Under the Sun is one of the best Ozzy Black Sabbath songs ever. With that, I love that part so much. But yeah, I love Volume 4 a lot, and it's grown on me so much. And yeah, most definitely my favorite Black Sabbath. My favorite one, Tony Iommi's best guitar work is on that album, in my opinion. And coming in at number 8 now, this one also was not really one of my favorite ones when I first heard it, but that's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I love the experimentation on this album. It was like Volume 4 in spots, but they also did a lot of things with synthesizers in this one. And it was just really interesting, and it most definitely does not sound like anything else they had done up to that point. I'm gonna keep saying that. But I just love the experimentation on these early Black Sabbath albums. And you really don't see that a lot nowadays anyways. I mean, bands usually just stick with their sound, don't really do much with it. But I love it when bands branch out there and change up their sound a little bit. While still, like, Black Sabbath changed up their sound, but they still stuck with, like, the Black Sabbath sound and tone. They just changed it up a little bit with, like, different experimentation. I like when bands do that. I think that's really cool. But, yeah, I mean, you got the title track. That's my favorite song off this album. Oh, yeah, my favorite off Volume 4 is Under the Sun. But my favorite off this one is most definitely the title track. I love that song. And you got National Acrobat, love that song too. Fluff's, I love Fluff. I know some people probably don't care for Fluff, but I really do. And it's Sabracadabra, oh, that's a really good song. Killing Yourself to Live, that's a really good song. Who Are You is alright. Looking for Today's great. Spiral Architect is pretty good too. But yeah, I absolutely love this album so much. And it's most definitely grown on me. Okay, so coming in at number 7, this one has also grown on me. If you'd asked me this probably like when I first started listening to Black Sabbath, I would have told you Paranoid was my favorite. Actually, no, I would have told you Master of Reality was my favorite Ozzy album, but I'm not gonna say that now. Because Sabotage, I love this album. It's so heavy. The riffs on this album are amazing. Ozzy's vocals, this is the best. Well, besides my number 1 Ozzy album, this one, Ozzy's vocals are phenomenal on this thing. I mean, you want to say Ozzy's a bad singer? You try singing Megalomania, because I guarantee you won't sound like Ozzy. Because that dude, ooh, that's like the best song off this album, which is my favorite. But I love Megalomania. I was like, Hole in the Sky, Don't Start Too Late, that's a little instrumental thing. Symptom of the Universe, Thrill of It All, Super Czar, Am I Going Insane Radio, and then The Writ. I mean, that's an amazing album right there. And I was about to say it don't get better than that, but it does, because my favorite Black Sabbath Ozzy album of all time. Now, I know a lot of people hate on this album. They say it sounds nothing like Black Sabbath. They say it's too lightweight. They say it's too poppy. But I'm sorry, I just don't hear that. To me, Never Say Die is the best Ozzy Black Sabbath album. I love this album. I never get tired of hearing it. Someday, I hope they make a super deluxe of that thing, because I would buy it instantly. And I just love this album. The title track, Johnny Blade, Junior's Eyes, best Ozzy song in Black Sabbath. A Hard Road, Shockwave, Air Dance, Over to You, Breakout, Swing of the Chain. That's a Bill Ward song right there. But yeah, I mean, did I bring that up in Technical Ecstasy that Bill sang a song? I don't think I did. But yeah, Bill does sing a song on Technical Ecstasy. He sings It's Alright, if I didn't mention that. But Bill Ward, I mean, I love his singing voice. I know some people don't like it, but I do. But yeah, I love this album so much. And even though it's lightweight and poppy, it still sounds like Black Sabbath. And you can still definitely hear that Black Sabbath sound in there. And I like how it's light, but it's also got some moments of being dark in there. I mean, that's just Air Dance. I cannot believe Sabbath fans don't like Air Dance. That song is amazing, but you know, if you don't like it, I get it. But I absolutely love this album. So, for all the Never Say Die fans out there, there you go. I love this album. Alright, now coming in at number 5. Now, not many... Okay, this one's kind of a mixed album for some people. There are some fans who love this album. There are some fans who don't like this album. But I've always been one of the ones who absolutely love this album. And that's Born Again with Ian Gillan on vocals from Deep Purple. I mean, this thing is amazing. Sure, the production's kind of muddy, but that never bothered me. I love Trash, Stonehenge, which goes into Disturbing the Priest. Then you got The Dark, that goes into Zero the Hero. Digital Female Dog! Born Again, Hotline, and Keep It Warm. I mean, Ian Gillan is just shrieking on this thing, sounding like he's having the time of his life right there. They got Bill Ward back for this album. He had previously left, but they got him back for this album. He sounds great. Then they got the Tony Iommi's riffs on this album are amazing. The bass, I don't really hear the bass that much on this one, but you can still tell it's there, but I don't really hear it as much as like on the, say, like the Dio stuff or the Ozzy stuff. But yeah, I love this album. Zero the Hero is definitely my favorite song of this album. And Ask Me Another Day and Hotline might be my favorite, but I love this album. And sure, that album cover is kind of... You know, I find it so funny that this is just... Whenever I showed my friends that album cover the first time, they were like losing their minds. Like, what is that hideous thing? It was funny. And they just refused to listen to the album because of the album cover. But I tried to tell them, but the album sounds better than the cover. But, yeah. Ian Gillan also did not like that album cover, and he actually threw up when we first saw it. But, you know, I never minded the album cover. I think it's incredibly goofy, though. And it's just, I don't know. It is so cartoony, and it's literally, I cannot take the album cover seriously. It's so goofy. But, yeah, I kind of like it for being so bad that it's actually good. But, yeah, it's pretty funny. Alright, so now we go on to number 4, which some people might not consider a Black Sabbath album. I most definitely do. I think this is a Black Sabbath album. I don't care what anyone says, because it's literally just a name change. And that's The Devil You Know from 2009. This was Ronnie James Dio's final album. And this was his final album it's amazing. I mean, this thing is just so good. You've got Atom and Evil, Fear, Bible Black, my favorite song off the album, along with Double the Pain, because that song is really good. Rock and Roll Angel, The Turn of the Screw, Eating the Cannibals, Follow the Tears, Neverwhere, Breaking into Heaven. I mean, this thing's pretty much just Dehumanizer Part 2. Or Dehumanizer Part 3 if you count Strange Highways as Dehumanizer Part 2. But yeah, this thing is heavy, and it's so doomy and muddy. It's just amazing, and some people don't like it because it's really slow, but I actually like it that it's like doomy and it's kind of slow and it lurks around like that. I think that sounds really good, and I wish 13 was like this. I really do, because I do like the doomy elements of 13, but this one actually has its own unique identity with the songs. 13 does not have its own unique identity with the songs, in my opinion. They all sound the same. This one, I can actually tell the songs apart, so that's why I like this album, not 13, for those wondering. But yeah, I absolutely love The Devil You Know. And I wish Dio was still with us, because I would have loved to have seen more Heaven and Hell albums. And they were actually planning on making a second one after they finished touring, so that would have been really cool to see. But yeah, rest in peace, Dio. And coming in, oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned this from the very beginning. I am a massive, massive Dio fan. Like, huge. He's my favorite vocalist of all time. Best singer ever, in my opinion. So, of course, the Black Sabbath albums with Dio are going to be my absolute favorites. So, coming in at number 3, Dehumanizer. I love this album. It's so heavy. It's the heaviest Black Sabbath album ever, in my opinion. It's the riffs, the melodies, the vocals. Everything is just amazing on this album. You got Computer God, After All the Dead, TV Crimes, Letters from Earth, Master of Insanity, Time Machine, Sins of the Father, Too Late, I Am Buried Alive. Is my favorite song off this, and Bible Black's my favorite off the Devil You Know. But I love this album so much. It's amazing. If you've never listened to Dehumanizer, go listen to it. It's amazing. And if you don't really like Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, but you like the Aussie stuff, I think you'll like Dehumanizer more if you don't like Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. It's so good. The riffs, you know, the choruses, Dio's vocals, the instrumentation. I mean, this thing is just powerful. It's heavy, and it's just one of the best Black Sabbath albums, in my opinion. And it's just so good, and I can't believe that the Rolling Stone gave this a 2 out of 5. That's a worst, very bad take, but anyways. And the riffs on this album are heavy, and everything about it is just heavy. And I love the drums on this album. Vinny Appice is my favorite drummer of all time. I mean, this dude on this album especially, the pounding drums, I mean, it's one of the best drum sounds I've... The best way drums could possibly sound on an album like this. I mean, it's just amazing. I love it. And I love how you can hear the bass and guitar. I mean, that's just amazing. I love this album very much, and that is why it's coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, Mob Rules. I love Dehumanizer, Mob Rules, and Heaven and Hell. These could change within, like, a week or so, just depending on the mood I'm in. But I just love Mob Rules too. I mean, you got Turn Up the Night, Voodoo, The Sign of the Southern Cross, which goes into E5150, and then that goes into the Mob Rules. Then that goes to Country Girl, Slipping Away, Falling Off the Edge of the World, and over. I mean, it don't get better than that, except for number 1. But it's amazing. I love the riffs on this album, the drums once again, the bass, Dio's vocals. I mean, what more can I say? I love this lineup of the band. The Mob Rules lineup is my favorite. I absolutely love that lineup. And yeah. Now, although I do love that lineup very much, number 1, and this has been my number 1 for a while, but it could change. It just depends on the mood I'm in. Heaven and Hell. This is with Bill Ward instead of Vinny Appice, but I think Bill Ward fits on this album perfectly. I mean, this is the album they did after Ozzy left, and it just sounds amazing. I mean, you go from Never Say Die to Heaven and Hell. I mean, whew, I'm not complaining. But I love this album. You got Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Lady Evil, Heaven and Hell, one of the best riffs and guitar solos of all time. Wishing Well, Die Young, Walk Away, Lonely is the Word. Which, by the way, I know I didn't give my favorites, but my favorite off Dehumanizer is my favorite off Mob Rules is The Sign of the Southern Cross, and then number 1... off of Heaven and Hell title track. I love that song, and it's still to this day my favorite Black Sabbath song of all time. And that is why Heaven and Hell is coming at number 1. I love this album, but like I said, numbers 1 through 3 could very easily change. It just depends on the mood I'm in. I love those albums very much. I'm like I said, hardcore Dio fan, so that's why the Dio albums are above the Ozzy albums and the Tony Martin albums and the Deep Purple albums they did with the Deep Purple singers. But yeah, that's my Black Sabbath discography ranking. That was a huge video because there's so many albums. I love Black Sabbath. I could talk about Black Sabbath all day. Like, you know, there's a theory I've always wondered about. So you know the Devil You Know album cover, right? What if that was the baby from Born Again, and now it's grown up? Did you ever think of that? Because that's something I thought about earlier today, and I was like, that's kind of cool if that was what they were going for with that. But yeah, anyways, I could talk about Black Sabbath all day, every day. That's my favorite band of all time. I drive my friends crazy talking about Black Sabbath, and I don't really think they really like it after Ozzy leaves. But yeah, I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. I could do like 16 Black Sabbath, just a whole series on Black Sabbath if I wanted to. But I mean, do you dudes want that? If you dudes want that, I'll make a whole series about Black Sabbath. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I'll never pass up the opportunity to talk about Sabbath. I mean, my #1 band of all time, it was Slipknot for the longest time, but now it's Black Sabbath. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll have more videos out soon. Until then, take care, stay safe, and tell me what your Black Sabbath discography ranking is, and tell me some of your favorite songs by them. And gotta listen to Black Sabbath.